All right. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for being on time. Happy Halloween. Um, this is our assignment for today. So, this whole week is going to be a very similar format. Make a clone of this website. And when I say clone, I really do want you to try to get like everything to match exactly. If you don't, obviously it's fine. But that's kind of the objective because CSS this whole week is just about the look of things. Um, it's funny, after this week, that's not my focus. The look of things it's great when a website looks great, but the focus is going to be functionality after this week. But for this week, at least, we do care a lot about the way things look. So here's actually a website that ChatGPT generated for me. I asked for an ugly Halloween website that did CSS classes and IDs and all those things. But that is something I realized I wanted to talk about day one, and I didn't talk to you guys about. So ChatGPT and Copilot, I discourage their use, but I don't prohibit it. So I think if you're careful, they can be good tools. For example, if you use ChatGPT, there's a block of code you don't understand, and you're like, you plug it in, and you're just like, what does this do? And you're trying to get an explanation to understand more. Great use of ChatGPT. If you're trying to use ChatGPT to just spit out some code to accomplish, a spec, that's like the bad use of ChatGPT. And then you just kind of are copying and pasting code you don't even really understand. So it can be a powerful tool, but I think it's one that should be avoided at the stage you're in right now. But at the same time, you know yourself the best, and if it's something that helps you understand, that's great. But too many times I think it does the reverse, and just you rely on it as a crutch to give you what you need at that second, and you use code you don't understand, and you just rely more and more on it. And then Copilot. Does anyone use GitHub Copilot? It's okay if you do. I know Roman does. He's late, I guess. I also think it should be avoided for the same reasons. I don't think it helps you understand code more. I think it just the temptation of just using what it spits out is too great for right now. Okay, so yesterday was HTML, right? And today, well, I want to ask you guys, do you think we could build this with what we learned yesterday with just HTML? Why or why not Calypso? What do you think? Can we build this?
I want to say yes, but I think it would be way more code than necessary and would make it like super messy.
Yeah. I mean, just using HTML, how would you even get a black background?
I'm not sure.
I don't think you can. I hate to say never with HTML because
Mm,
it's such a beast, but I think it'd be
right.
really hard. Really, really
Mm.
hard. I think impossible, actually. Um, so we learned yesterday HTML fundamentally, the mental model I want you to have is uh, we're just decorating text. So plain text is awful to look at, and we're just making it look better. CSS is now, well, we want it to even look more specifically how we want it to look. So we have this new technology, CSS, that we're going to learn. Because there's more we need to do than just HTML will allow us to do as far as the way the website looks. Any questions on that overview? Okay, so that's the objective. What we're going to actually build today, though, is going to be this, which is going to be very, very similar, right? But we'll build this together. So, where do I want to put this? I guess I'll put this down here, very small. And then maybe we can look at both of these at the same time, hopefully. Will that work? Kind of. Yeah. All right. So first things first, I want to the objective today is create a website. I'm going to delete this file. Kind of silly because we're just going to create it again. But I know the first few times it's like, how do I even create an HTML file? So we have VS Code open. We have an empty folder called day one. Let's not use day one, right? So I'm going to do open folder. I'm going to create a new folder called day two. I'm going to open that up. And how can I get... So right now, don't worry about the color. Don't worry about anything. I just want a website with the text that says top Halloween movies, like down below here. We can actually grab the emojis too, because the emojis are text. How can I get a website going that has that? Pimpa, any ideas? How can I create a new HTML file?
You have, I'm not sure, but you can create another folder.
Sure, but
It's,
I created a new folder called day two, and I'm in that right now, and it's empty.
And you can, I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. You guys can say no without any shame at all. We're going to constantly be checking in. Some things you're not going to know, right? And I'll just go to the next person. Semsi.
You can click that plus icon.
Yeah.
Yes, and then name it index.html.
Yeah, very nice. Because we learned yesterday that it has to be called index.html when you deploy, or Netlify might not recognize it, right? And then Semsi, do you remember the shortcut if I'm lazy and don't want to type all the boilerplate we need for a good...
Yes, yes, you would write HTML and then select HTML5 in the middle.
Yeah, very nice.
Tab, and yeah.
And then I said my objective was to just don't worry about the colors. But I do want this to show up, this text, top Halloween movies. How can I get that text to appear in my news site? Jamie?
Yeah, I can type in after the body H1.
Beautiful, yeah.
And then top Halloween movies and the closing.
Okay, I don't see anything from pressing save. How can I actually view my website? Sadiq? How can I actually view the website that I'm writing right now to check if this is working at all?
Go to the live server, turn on the live server.
Yeah, so how do I do that?
There is a go live button at the bottom of the VS Code.
Yeah, we can click go live here, or what's the other way we can do it? Mohammed, do you remember? There's one other way we can use live server.
After saving it, you have to open your file with the browser.
That's another way we could see the for sure. We could see the site, no problem. But what's the issue with doing it this way? If I make some changes, right? What's the problem?
You have to save it.
I have to save it and then click refresh manually, which I don't want to do every time. So we want to use live server, so we can right click here and say open with live server. Yep. The go live button also would have worked. I like right clicking though, because if you click go live, sometimes I feel like you don't know which HTML it's going to serve if you're in a folder with a few, but probably not going to be a problem. So this we could have accomplished yesterday with just HTML, but now we are going to need some CSS. The first thing we're going to need to do is get our background to be black. So that's our objective. But let's back up a second and talk about what is CSS in a more general way. So what did you guys get from the pre-work? What is CSS? Maureen, what is CSS? Can't hear you. Nah. Nope. Still muted. We'll circle back though if you try to figure that out. Ketzerin, what is CSS? Possible technical interview question for sure, right?
It's the what I like to say is something to make it look nice or change the
Yeah. Make our website
make a website
look
looks
the
nice.
way we want.
Yes.
But it's an acronym, right? So what does the acronym stand for?
Sorry, I could not remember.
Okay. Elri? Am I pronouncing that right, by the way? Elri? Okay.
It's Elri. Yes, Elri. If I remember correctly, it's Cascading style sheet.
Yeah. And why? Why is it called Cascading style sheets?
Cascading, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the word, but if I can explain it, it's because we put it in a style. Cascading, isn't it because we targets certain elements to style them? I don't know.
Yeah, well, the second part, I think you had to guess, right? Style sheets. Why do we call them style sheets?
It's what we use to style the elements in the HTML.
Yeah, and I think
So
the sheets
it's in a
part
sheet.
is because we can store them in external style sheet, which we're not going to do today. We're going to use the tag style, but opens the class. Anybody have any guess why it's called cascading?
So it's because the code, what it does, or when it's being read from top down. So whatever is, in other words, cascading. So whatever is read at the bottom will more than likely take priority over what's read at the top.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, no, actually the bottom will take priority because it gets read in last. So if there is a conflict, the bottom will win. So there's not a super strict answer about this. All these are good input. But in my opinion, really it's called cascading because of inheritance. So the styles cascade down from their parents. But also because of all the it's kind of like a waterfall because an element can be absorb their styles from so many different locations and places, and then there's all these rules about how who will win basically with specificity and inheritance, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I just want the very basics and then us to get started. So we're going to use the style tag. So here is a very special tag in HTML where we can put in CSS syntax. So CSS goes inside the style tag. And it's its own kind of language syntax. Yeah. So let's write our first, let's write our style tag first in our head. And then let's write what's called our first CSS rule. So I guess I'll do this here still. So a CSS rule, what does that look like? So I said our very first objective is to get the background to be black. So the deal with CSS is to use it, we have to select which element we want to apply the styling to. So that's the first job we have. Which element do we want to target? Which element do we want to target? To get the background to be all black, which element do you think we want to target? Zubida?
We will target the background color.
Yeah, background color is going to be called the property. But first, and that's going to be very important in a second, but first, what element do we want to, what selector do we want to use? In this case, it is going to be an element selector. Yeah. Basically, the question is, how can I get this background black?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Bella, any guess? Or we can open it to the class.
Oh, I think I know. I think we need to target the body.
Yes. So beautiful. So here we're using a selector of body. And I'll write this here, the CSS rule. So we have body. And then we use curly braces. And this body is referred to as the selector. And there's different types of selector. Hey, Lin J, what is the note taker app that you're requesting? What is it? Are you there? Okay. Yeah. Maybe starting tomorrow we can use it, but right now I don't know what it is, so I'm going to deny it. That's okay. So we have our selector. This one is actually called an element selector. But we have different types of selector, which we'll get into in a second. So we use our selector, and then we have curly braces. And now we need what to get the background color black. Victor?
Just need to choose the color.
So property color?
Background color.
Yeah, so the property we're going to use is background color, and the color and the value we call it is black. So here, let me put this in background color black, and then just for the naming of this stuff, can I just select it maybe? Yeah. So to name this stuff properly, this is, this might not work out the way I wanted. This one is called, the property, and this one is the value. Whoops. Let me get the arrow going, and that one is called the value. This is just nomenclature, right? So a unit, this like unit is called the CSS rule. This is called the property, and this is called the value. So let's see if that actually worked, right? Beautiful. except we have some issues, right? What are some of our issues we have, Redo, if we want to match the bottom?
We can't see the font because the font is the same color as the body.
Yeah. So what's another property we can use to make it red?
Well, we can use color. But first of all, we have to target the H1.
Oh, yeah.
element.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So we have to do a new selector. And what do you want to target?
So the H1 element, so the select would be the selector, and then inside we would use a property color, and the value would be red.
Yeah. And there we go. I do notice something. This font looks like it's italic down here. How can I get this font to be italic? Kimberly?
You type in font.
Okay. Font.
Style.
Font style. And I see italic. So let's go with that. And very nice. That looks pretty close, right? I think. Good enough. Except there's one problem. This is centered, right? And centering things is going to be very difficult until tomorrow, and then it becomes very easy with Flexbox. But for today, how can we try to center this H1?
Text align center.
Yeah. So we're going to get lucky because this is just text. So I think we can use text align center. It's not always going to be that easy. It's almost never going to be that easy, but we got lucky today. So let's look at the next little piece we want to do, right? And here,
quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So the curly brackets, I noticed like
curly
it's always,
braces. Yeah, curly braces.
Sorry,
Yep.
the braces. Why is it a reason that it needs to be separated, or that's just like how people like to style their
Oh no,
pages?
it doesn't need to be.
So it could be like all one line instead of it being like drop down and then all that.
All one line like this?
You see how it's like for like body, let's say you're only doing the background color and nothing else. Could you move background color up and then move the other brace up and it'd still be fine?
I think technically, but it would just be really ugly and unreadable.
Right. I was just wondering if there was like.
I think technically it would still work.
Way? Okay.
I mean, technically, your whole code could just be like
one giant
line. Yeah.
Okay.
Like line breaks are just for our visual understanding. The computer doesn't care. At the end of the day, it's all. Yeah, these line breaks are just, I guess, \n is just the hidden like text going on behind the scenes. Good question though. But yeah, for our human purposes, we definitely wanted it formatted. Okay, so I see a box. I have to build a box, right? To get the shining. And this is gonna lead to some interesting things about what's called the box model in CSS, which we'll talk about in a second. But first off, I don't care about the color. I don't care about the width, the height, the text. How can I just get any box to show up? And then we'll manipulate it from there. So I just want any box to show up. We'll have to start with HTML and then go to CSS. Open to the class because it's a little difficult. How can I get a box to show up?
You can make a div, and then we can style it within the style.
Yeah. And so now we have to make a choice about how we want to select this div. And because if we take a look at our example, we see that this box, the styling of it, is repeated again and again. So if a certain style is repeated again and again, what selector are we probably going to use? Well, this is a little complicated a question because there might be two. But yeah. What's a good selector for this situation?
You could use class.
Yeah, we're going to use a class. So, let me shrink this back. And okay. So, how can I put a class to this div?
You put the attribute class.
Yeah, and beautiful technical language with calling it an attribute. And what's a good value?
I guess box style or maybe container wrap.
Yeah, or movie box. Yep. Okay, now the cool part is, so yeah, this is how we define a class on something with an attribute and a value. And now now that we've given that a class, how can we target it in our CSS? So we've so far used element selectors, but now we want to use a class selector. Yeah.
You use dot and then the name of the class.
Yeah, so the rule is if we were using a class selector, we have to do dot. Okay, and now I said I want just a box to appear on my screen. I don't care what it looks like right now. I just want it to appear. What do you think? Sorry, I forgot who we were on. Monica?
Do you want a width and a height?
I want anything to get a box to be visible on my screen. Yeah.
So width, height, and a border.
Sure. What's the value for a border? And then I'm realizing we have to talk about pixels, right?
We could do 1 pixel, solid and white.
Sure. So we have a very little box that showed up. But now I'm realizing we have to talk about pixels. So any thoughts on pixels? Anything from the pre-work? What's your feelings on pixels? Izzy?
It's like a size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unit of, I don't know, measurement for the size of our elements. It's really the standard. Yeah, so you're really going to go for pixels unless you have a reason not to. I guess in the past, a pixel literally meant 1 pixel, but now that's just not correct anymore at all. If you have some, Retina new iPhone with 1 million pixels, it's not. If we say 10 pixels, it's not going to be literally 10 pixels. It wouldn't be visible. The device and browsers are smart enough to take our measurements from us lazy developers who don't want to think about all that kind of detail. And translate it to appropriate size for the device. So that's pixels. There's so many other units that you use. The only one I really find myself using too often is percentage. I definitely use, honestly, I use Tailwind and this stuff disappears, but I think behind the scenes, Tailwind is using percentages, one called rem. I use view width and view height sometimes too, but for right now, it's just how big you want things to be. We can go with pixels for probably this entire week, maybe percentages, but we'll get there when we get there. So that's pixels. Okay. So okay. The background color right now is black. How can I get that to be gray? Farhan?
So like with the body, we would put background color gray.
Yeah. And then the height should be more, right? So maybe like 200. That might be too much. 100, maybe 150, maybe. And now I want it to take up. Okay, so now I think is a good place to talk about the box model in CSS. So, what is the box model? What did you get from the pre-work? What is the box model? CO2?
Sorry, my Zoom is really playing up today. My mind is drawing a blank.
Okay, no worries. Mehdi, any thoughts about the box model in CSS?
So it's not the margin padding.
Yeah, it deals with padding, margin, for sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
That's the only thing that I know.
Okay, yeah, that was a good start. Lin J, anything to add about the box model in CSS?
So it has padding, margin. You can do the border.
Yeah, border. But if you were trying to explain it to like your friend at a bar, like what does that mean? The box model of CSS.
If I were to explain it, it's a box, and you put something in the box.
Yeah.
But then you need space around that box.
Yeah.
But then you want to design that's surrounding the box.
Yeah, that's actually really good. But let me spice it up. So every element in HTML is represented as a box. And that box has border, padding, margin, content. So let's pretend, let's take a look at this div we have right here. And then let's even say the shining in here. And then let's represent, so the browser is going to represent this div as a box. And it will have content in the middle. And then, yeah, so the content is the very middle. But then outside the content, but before the border, what do we call this space?
Padding.
Yeah, so here is, whoops. Oh, is this not going to let me do this? Padding. There we go. And imagine that this represents the border of Chrome. Or other elements actually. What is the space here called?
Margin.
Yeah. So this is going to be the CSS box model. And this is automatically interpreted for every element. So for our div, we don't really want to specify the width, I don't think, because if I expand this, it actually grows. So what we really care about is the space between our box and the window, Chrome. So how can I tell? So instead of width, how can I dictate the space between the box and the edge of Chrome there?
Margin?
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and say margin. We'll just do 10 pixels at first, and then we'll see how that looks. So we need to go a little more, right? So we'll do 20. So we'll do 30, and that's probably good enough. I'm noticing our height is a little off, right? We'll do 100. 125. Okay. What else has to be cleaned up to make it match exactly? It's looking kind of good. What else do we need? Farhan, yeah, go ahead.
We can add the border as well.
Yeah. So instead of white, what do you think?
Instead of white, it would be the orange, yellow color.
Yeah, I think it's orange. Yep. Very nice. Any other ideas?
Change the border width to 2 pixels.
Change the what?
Border width.
Sorry, one more time. Change the
border width.
Oh, border width.
Yeah.
2 pixels you want?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, how do we get the content in here, the shining with the axe?
We can either just type it out or put it in a P tag, the shining.
Yeah, we'll be lazy and just type it out. But now, what do we notice that might be very challenging without Flexbox? Honestly, tomorrow is going to feel maybe easier than today. But any guesses? How can we get this? How can we get this centered?
So we can use a combination, well, the sizing first, but also we can use a combination of padding or centering.
Yeah. So can we target movie box, or do we need to throw this into a P element? What do you think? Farhan, you're on a roll. What do you think?
I think we can leave it as is. The content itself would be surrounded by the padding.
Okay. I agree. So what property should we give here to try to get this going?
So padding.
Yeah.
And then I forgot how it goes with the top, right, left. Oh.
So this isn't what we want at all, because it's expanding the size of our whole box. So this is not going to work for us that way. So I think we might actually do have to put this in its own tag. Unless we can think of another way. Can anyone think of another way to get... Oh, I think we actually might be able to. What? Can we try text align again? See if that does anything. Okay, that did something. And now, if we use padding, maybe? No.
Can we do top?
Padding top?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Ooh, maybe. No. So it's still expanding the box, which makes sense because we're targeting the actual box.
What if we consider it as an item and use the align item?
Oh, that's Flexbox. So we don't get that yet. Tomorrow. I think the best is to just throw this in a P tag. And then here we'll do the shining. But then how do we target this P tag?
So I think this has to do with inheritance a little bit. We can do one of few ways, either just select the P element, or we can select the movie box and then the P element so that it's specific to that.
So we're gonna have one or many P elements. What do you think? Calypso, what do you think? Are we gonna have one P element or many in this app?
So we should just create a new style for it. So I would just do P with the braces and create a style.
Sure. So we can use an element selector. Although, what if this ends up being a P and then we're targeting that when we don't mean
that's
to
true.
it?
You could make a new class for it.
Sure. What's a good name for the class?
Box text. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, well, this is the title to the movie, right? So what maybe we
yeah.
can call it?
Yeah, movie title.
Sure. Okay, and then again, how do we target movie title?
Dot movie title.
Very nice. And then Semsi, how now that we're targeting this separately, any ideas what we can do?
Yeah. Here we can center it, I believe, or is it already centered?
It's already centered from here, but here, maybe we should move this here just because it makes more sense. But it doesn't really matter too much. Yep. So
we can definitely change the color to orange.
Yeah, we can do that pretty easily. What about the size?
And then,
what do you think about the size?
Oh, size. Okay, so we can make the height maybe 50.
So height isn't going to change the size of our text. We need a different property.
Oh, font size.
Yep, there you go. We'll just do whatever. That actually looks somewhat decent. I don't know.
And I believe we need to push it a little down. And for that, I think we could use padding.
Okay. So we'll use padding of 10 pixels. That looks pretty good. And then maybe we'll do 20. Yep. Tomorrow you'll be able to get this exact, but for right now, we're just going to kind of eyeball it. That actually looks decent though, right? Oh, is the axe way bigger? Yeah, I think we have a problem. So our axe is way bigger. So this is going to get interesting, and this is useful. Open to the class. How can we get that axe bigger?
Span.
Yeah.
You can use span.
So we're going to surround the axe with a span tag. And now how can we target it?
Just give it another class.
Yep. What's a good name?
Axe.
Oh, are we going to reuse this class?
I'm not sure, but just to be on the safe side.
So we are going to reuse this axe because we have a wizard and a ghost coming up next.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then just, we do not need a class here. Yeah.
Oh, no, we do need a class because we're going to reuse this styling. So the way this box looks is going to be exactly the same styling for this next box coming up. And we don't want to have to repeat our work. So remember, this is our overall objective to build this website. So we definitely want to nail the styling once and then reuse it the 2 other times. So for that, we need a class, right? So Axe wouldn't be great. Why not? Why is Axe not a great name for the class?
Because we are going to use it all over.
Yeah, great. So what's a better name, Zubida?
You can call it movie icon or
Yeah,
movie
I love it.
image.
And how can I target movie icon, and what should the values be, the properties be?
Dot movie icon.
Dot movie icon, yep. Curly braces. And what property do we want to use?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Vanessa? How can we get that axe way big? We want the axe way
Use
big.
some type of size.
Yep, font size again. Maybe we'll just try larger. See if that, nope. 50 pixels. Yeah, that looks good, but now our padding is off. So we want to move our padding. Maybe we want to delete our whole padding. Yeah, there we go. Simplified things. Okay. Next objective, to get this yellow text. But for right now, I just want any text. So how can I get some text to show up below the shining? Victor?
You just make a p tag directly underneath the div and put the text.
Yeah. So now I'm not seeing anything. Why not? And how can I fix it, Victor?
We would, because the text is default comes out in color black, so we would have to make a new class for the p tag and then change the color, the font color.
What's a good class name?
Movie descriptor. Movie description.
Yeah, movie description. Yeah, that's great. How do I target it, and what value should go in there?
Dot movie description and font color, or just color.
Just color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I get it centered? Redo.
So you can add another property, text align, and then the value would be center.
Yep. And then do you like the way the text looks, or does it need to be modified? Redo.
It needs to be in italics. So there's two ways. We could either add an M tag
Okay.
inside the P tag, or we could do it from CSS. We could add the property, I think font style, and then the value would be italics.
All right. Very nice. So now the beautiful thing is I can just copy all this 3 times, and then change the content here. Hocus pocus. Beetlejuice. Oops, why am I not? Oh, there we go. Okay, so now we have a copy of the website. Yeah.
You just have to move the icons though, because now you have the axe and the icon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, my bad. Any questions on that? Some of the basic CSS, and I can exit this because I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
As in, where are we getting those icons from?
Where are we getting the styling from?
The icons.
Oh, these are just emojis. So on Windows, you press the window icon and dot. Oh, you can't. That's annoying. You can't see it on my screen. Oh, here we go. So if you press the window icon and dot, you can search for anything you want. Or if you don't remember that shortcut, you can always just be like pumpkin emoji and just copy it. These are just emojis.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're fun to use in code. It's so easy. They're just strings behind the scenes, so just regular characters. Other questions?
We can also just copy and paste it from the example site, yeah? Like with the
Oh,
text.
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So we used an element selectors, class selectors. We unfortunately didn't use an ID selector, which is pretty common. So I do want to hit that. Let's just say I want the word Halloween Yeah, I just want the word Halloween here underlined. I just want the word Halloween underlined. And I want to use an ID selector. Opens the class. Who can help me do that?
So you put the attribute like class for as an ID, but if you're just doing it for Halloween, we first need to put it in a span tag, and then put the attribute ID.
Yeah, beautiful. So attribute is ID, and the value is what?
We can put it as emphasis or just Halloween, I guess.
So now, to target classes, we use dot, but to target IDs, we use what?
The Octothorpe or hashtag.
What was the first name for it?
Octothorpe.
Octothorpe. Okay. Never heard that. Very nice. All right. Halloween. And I said I wanted underline. Does anyone know underline? It's pretty tricky.
I think it's text transform, I think.
Not transform.
Decoration.
Yeah.
I think.
Very nice.
Underline. Yeah.
And there we go. So we've used all the basic selectors. This will get you through today. There's going to be some more selectors, pseudo selectors, like on hover, where if the user hovers over an element, we can change it visually. But that'll be for another day. So any questions on, I think this will get you through the assignment, the basic CSS. We use padding, margin, border. Yeah, I think we're actually good.